Hello, I'm going to talk about implementing interfaces and what interfaces are actually good for and why you should use them. A lot of books and whatnot will introduce the interface very early on so that you'll use them, but they don't really seem to define its purpose and why would you use it over base classes and whatnot. And I'm going to try to portray that in this video. So what an interface is it defines a set of rules for a type. So you want to implement this interface on your type to say that this type needs to have this certain type of integration, this certain type of functionality available when you use it. But you do have to use it in a certain manner. I'll show you how to do that to access the interface functionality. And the reason you would want to use an interface over defining functionality in a base class is because your types may have very different origins. They may branch off in the inherit tree very far, and you would also be putting irrelevant functionality in your base classes. And in my case, I'm going to be doing this with predefined Windows Forms controls, and I won't have access to their base classes so that I can apply this functionality to both of the types that I'll be using. Okay, so I have a interface defined here called iFailure, and it has two properties. So basically anything that implements this interface will have to implement these properties. With the interfaces, you only define the signatures, and any structure that implements the interfaces has to define the body or definition. Okay, so let's create some predefined Windows Forms controls that just implement our interface. We're going to call this one fail list box. The fail just indicates that it's going to be implementing our interface. It's going to extend list box, and we're going to separate the interface from the last type in the signature here with a comma. And I'm going to type in iFailure. Then I'm going to click on iFailure and hit implement interface iFailure. And we're not going to do much with this. I'm just going to get rid of the set and return 0 with the list box. Okay, and we're also going to apply this interface to another Windows Forms control. So I'm going to add a new class. Call it super or fail button. It's going to extend button and implement our iFailure interface. Let's hit implement again, and we're going to return 5 with the button. Okay, so now let's drag some controls, our newly defined controls on the form. Let's go into the code and see how we can actually make use of this interface. And we're going to make a method called check failure. And we are going to iterate through all of the controls in the form. So for each control in this dot controls. And we are going to do this. Fail control is equal to control as iFailure. When I'm using the interface name in this manner, I'm not actually defining some offbeat code structure instance. It's actually defining a reference to an object that implements this iFailure interface. So whatever is going to be in this fail control reference, or whatever it's pointing to, it's just going to be an object that implements this interface. It's not going to be anything too special. So we're going to check for null. Fail control is not equal to null. And that means that we have found something that implements this interface, which is going to be pretty much all the controls on the form. We're going to just access one of our list boxes that we have. So fail list box 1 items.add. I'm just doing this so you can see what's going on. We are going to get the name of the control, and the cool thing about this is that we have access to the original controls properties. So if you want to, they're all going to be controls, right? So doing this is not going to be a problem in my case. So control name plus fail control, and this fail control object here will give us access to the fail control implementations. So I've got fails here. I don't think I need to convert it to string. There we go. So in this for each loop, like I said, you have access to the original control properties and the fail control properties, because we're simply finding controls that implement this interface. And down here is where we can actually use them. Okay, so I'm going to run the application. And so our first box returns 0, and our fail button returned 5, like we set it to, like we implemented, and 0 and 5. Of course, with your implementations, you're going to be interfacing with protected members and whatnot, and doing calculations and stuff, and it's not going to be like very simple like this. So I'm going to show you one last thing before I stop the video. So you might have something like a boat object, a boat type. Then you might have something like a toy type. So with the boat and the toy, you have two reasons to implement an interface. One, they could be very far apart in the inherit tree and irrelevant, but you want to add some consistent functionality to both of the types. Or two, they are predefined types and you don't have access to their base code, which they derive from. In my case, it's going to be the first, and maybe I would want to implement something called health state. So health state. Again, these are going to have different inheritance. So this could be derived from a vehicle class. I don't even think I spelled it right. And this could be derived from a plaything class. And they're just two very irrelevant things. But you want them both to have a health state, and the health state would implement something like is scratched. So both the boat and toy can be scratched, and they both can deteriorate at some level. So we might have a deterioration percentage. So deterioration, and have it as like a float percentage. That's all I have to say about interfaces. See you next video.